will Kelly Slater make the mid-year cut?
It's a great question. His performance in pipe was not indicative that he will, let's just say. Like, it's when Kelly starts, it's one thing to like blow it physically kind of or whatever. Like, clearly he's, 50, almost 51 in 2 days, I do believe, David Lee Scales. It's Kelly Slater Day. So clearly, like, you don't stay young forever. But watching him just like blow, like really botch tactics at a wave that he knows better than anyone out there, right? And his reasoning afterwards for what he was thinking and what he was doing, obviously it makes sense, but it clearly wasn't working. And at some point, you better shift.
Yeah. Well, Kelly screwed me in the Survival League. I am out
How many
for the entire
did
season.
he screw?
I don't know the hard number. I know that 64% of people lost in Survival League.
By far the biggest culling of Survival League's history.
I know. Event 1, 64% loss. So I don't know how many of those were Kelly Slater picks, but I was one of them. There was never a safer bet. Like, in terms of statistically, at any event on tour, who would you pick? Kelly at pipe is statistically the safest bet. And so he screwed us all. I feel like he owes all of us $20.
I mean, a real gaffe. The way he did it too, the way he just blew it. He straight up sat on the wrong part of the reef and took the wrong waves.
Well, he got the backdoor waves. He just didn't make it out the little chandelier at the end, which was very unlike him. And I know it was a 3-foot wave. And if it was a 10-foot wave, he would have made it, but he normally would have still made the 3-foot wave too,
That's a real bummer. I mean, which I wonder, is it a symbol of his lack of care, right?
Yes. Yes.
Does he just not have the motivation to actually push through that little chandelier at the end, metaphorically?
Yes. And literally.
Yeah.
And for the last decade, he hasn't. And we've been talking about that here as well, ad nauseum. But the only thing that motivates Kelly at this point is pumping surf. And so I don't think
I mean, if Kelly mid-year cuts, then that's it for Kelly Slater, which is going to be, there's no way he's going to go down to the Challenger Series and try to requalify. He couldn't, right? I mean, he just could not. And the trouble for the WSL is, once you lose Kelly, you lose the marquee draw name, right? Like, watching when the viewer count go up on the YouTube, when Kelly's in the water, it goes up by a third, right? And then when Kelly's out of the water, Kelly is a draw. It's going to be like everything the World Surf League can do to keep him above the cut.
I remember there was times where Julian Wilson almost fell off tour, and then Kelly was interviewed and he's like, despite him having a bad season, Julian is so talented, he will not fall. Like, he will figure it out at the last event or whatever, because he's just that talented. And so I've always thought about that. And I think he said that about Jack Robinson too, before Jack won in Mexico. I don't feel the same way about Kelly at this point. I feel like when I watch Felipe and even Joao Chianca and guys like that surf 3-foot backdoor or 3-foot anywhere, I go, Kelly can't do that. Like, there's 15 surfers on tour that do that better than Kelly. Kelly is singular in what he can do in big barreling surf, but they're not running a big barrel. Most of the events aren't big barreling events. So when we talk about the mid-year cut, bad throwaway result at pipe, he's liable to have a throwaway result always at Sunset.
Doesn't like verbally recognize it, or it says that he dislikes Sunset.
Totally. And then Portugal is a total wild card, unless Portugal is pumping.
Yeah.
He's very liable to lose in the round of 32, maybe the round of 16 there at best. I don't know that he's ever made the quarters there that I can remember. And then we're in Australia, and it's like, it's hit and miss in Australia. If Bells is pumping, maybe he'll do okay there.
I don't think
he could legitimately not requalify.
I mean, very easily. That's the thing, is I think Pipeline meant more to him, or more for him, than to any other surfer, right? Like, that is precisely how he stayed above the mid-year cut last year, is by winning pipe, right? He was
totally
done and dusted then. I can't even remember what he did the rest of the way, but I bet you could probably win one and go out of in the round of 32 at the rest of them and still surf 5, correct?
I don't know. I
I
don't know
think.
how the math works.
Well, I mean, so how many events are there? There's Pipe, there's Sunset, there's Bells, there's
Margaret,
Portugal. No, is Portugal before or after the mid-year cut?
Portugal's early this year. It's the third event.
Okay, so it's there we go then. So it is Pipe,
I
Sunset,
think I think there's
Portugal,
five.
Bells, and then the cut, right?
Yeah, I think there's five.
Yeah, there's five. Margaret's the cut. Uh, so I don't know. I mean, I guess he could do okay. I mean, it just purely depends on the surf. But you're exactly right. It depends on the surf 100% for Kelly, where it doesn't for Philippe or any of the other guys. Like any of those guys, as evidenced by Jack Robinson willing, like just straight gutting out a win in garbage.
Exactly. And so I don't think Kelly can compete with those guys if the surf isn't good. But more importantly than that, he's not motivated. I don't
No,
see him being motivated, and he's too old. He's done it for too long, and he's got too many other things going on in his life. The only thing that motivates him is pumping surf, which is why we saw him win Pipe last year. And so
ain't
I
it
don't
a
think he's going
bummer?
to make the
Ain't it a bummer though? You would think the WSL would be thinking, oh, this is our draw. This is our big draw. Kelly Slater. We should try to keep him in. What keeps him in? Pumping surf. Look at that. Shouldn't we have these guys in pumping surf? Imagine Kelly would surf till 60 if they had one swell window that did exactly what we said, a limited amount of surfers, best swells of the year at the best waves of the year. Kelly, you get Kelly forever.
totally, completely.